Steve Gill with the Gill Report here with House Speaker Cameron Sexton. It's been a rushed and chaotic 3 days, but today does seem to be the end in this map that's now been agreed upon by everybody in their committees. Should be moving to passage pretty quickly today.
Yeah, hopefully we're done today a little bit after lunch. With all special sessions, they're short and they're a sprint, and so this one's no different. A few protesters, but other than that, it's all good.
When you listen to the protests and some of the things that they're saying, it seems incredibly hypocritical to complain about this map when we look back at the last map that Democrats passed when Steve Cohen was a state senator that stretched Williamson County all the way to Memphis with a congressional district, and yet he's pitching a hissy fit about this one.
Well, the left is not always intellectually honest. They want to forget the past and only focus on what's happening today, and they don't realize they were in power back then and what they did. And, they gerrymandered maps, and if you remember Van Hillary's map back in the day in the 90s, it stretched all the way from Upper East Tennessee all the way to Savannah, Tennessee. And it took about 5 hours to drive through that district if you were driving through it, from one end to the other. And so, look, we proposed the map. We're going to have the votes to pass that out today, and we look forward to having a 9-0 advantage here in the congressional map.
Even before it passes, we're already seeing the political efforts of candidates, would-be candidates, current candidates deciding where they stay, where they move. Senator Britt Taylor has already changed his designation to Brent Taylor and is going to recuse himself today. Pretty good indication he's going to run in that new, I guess it's 9th district down the lower end of the state.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, all indications is I think there may be some House members that may jump in that race too. So I think it may be a crowded race. And so at the end, you're looking at it from an opportunity, and it looks like more people may be jumping in to run for Congress than what we had before. And I think that's a win.
When you look at the objections that the left has stated, and yesterday in some of the hearings they were threatening lawsuits, are you concerned at all that they will get lawsuits in place that may not win but delay the enactment of this legislation to, again, mess with the upcoming elections that are only about 70, 80 days away?
Yeah, I mean, look, what we've done is constitutional, and so they can file lawsuits. Who knows what happens when you get a liberal woke judge in front of? We don't know what will happen there. But what we know is we did what's right. We did this map based on population and politics, and we use no racial data at all in it. And so from that standpoint, we firm will win at some point, but they're going to always sue us, and so that's just what they want to do.
And lower courts don't always get one at the appellate and Supreme Court level, as we've seen, even with this opinion in Louisiana versus Calais.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take a look. I do know what we are hearing from the rest of the country is Tennessee's kind of the linchpin of other states going forward after this, after the dust settles. So I think we're playing a bigger part in this than what we realize sometimes.
You're just finishing this one. I know you don't want to look too far ahead, but after the next census, Tennessee could be posed to pick up an extra congressional seat. You've got huge, massive voter population growth in Middle Tennessee. We're still using for this map the last census data. So when 30 comes out, we're going to see growth in Middle Tennessee. You're going to be back at this again in just a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've probably grown close to 10% as a state, which may add a 10th seat. It may not. We've always been on that cusp. We've never quite gotten there. It depends on what happens in other states as well and how that population refolds. As you know, everybody's moving out of these blue socialist states of New York and California and Illinois. In Crossville, we have a lot of individuals, Republicans who fled those states who are Republicans who now live in Cumberland County. And Fairfield Glade is one of the strongest Republican boxes in the state. And so, we'll see what that looks like as well, because you also, as we're growing, others are losing. So we'll have to see what that looks like.
One of the other things, again, political analysts are looking at is if you don't count illegal aliens in the process, Republicans probably pick up a dozen or 20 congressional seats. If the census hadn't overcounted in blue states and undercounted in red states, again, we're looking after the census, if we can get past this round, at Republican growth that may make it very difficult for Democrats to win back the House or the White House for a long time.
Well, yeah, and you had an article about California where one of their candidates admitted that they're trying to increase illegal immigration in their state to increase their population, and that's the only way that they're doing it. And so to your point is, if it comes later where the courts or someone says you can't count illegal immigrants into your population base, then California is going to lose a ton of seats, obviously. In Tennessee, we may pick up more than just one. We may pick up a 2 or a 3. You don't know. So we'll see what happens.
Should we be warning these people in Illinois and New York and California that we have snakes and mosquitoes and 150% humidity and we're full?
That'd be fine. But, look, at the end, I think the way we're leading our state, people are looking at it and people wanting to move here. I don't think the progressive left wants to be in the state of Tennessee. I think the Republicans from those states are saying, where can I go? And they're looking at Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Idaho. They're looking at South Carolina's been a good state too. And so I think they're looking at what red states I can go to where I can have more freedom, because in those blue states you have no freedom.
You know, it's interesting. We've heard from several of the protesters and even some of the legislators that we ought to just have a referendum on this map, and yet we've tried to point out that we did have a referendum. President Trump carried 65% or so of the vote. We have supermajorities of Republicans in the state House and the state Senate. Tennessee voters have voted.
No, they have voted, and our state doesn't allow referendums on the ballot. We don't do ballot referendums in our state, so they can talk about that all they want, but we've never done that. We will not do that. We don't do that. And so you have elections, and you're elected people to go represent you. That's your voice, and your voice is who you vote for. Now, whether or not your person wins or not, you still have a voice, and so it's still one person, one voice. They have one vote, hopefully, and we try to cure that with photo ID and other things years ago. And so, look, we feel very comfortable that people's voices will still be heard because you're heard on Election Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.